everyone, and welcome to Make It with Miss Mandee. Today I'm excited to show you how to make your very own custom puzzle design. This is one that I've created already, and as you can see, it's nice and thick and sturdy just like a regular puzzle, so you can reuse it over and over again, which is pretty cool. All you need to make this project is a printer, a Cricut machine, of course, and some Mod Podge and chipboard. And chipboard is something you can find and get in packages at craft stores. It's pretty inexpensive. Or if you're like me and buy vellum all the time, you usually get a piece of chipboard or something inside the package, and I just tend to hoard it away and keep it for future projects like this. Alright, so this is a pretty simple craft, but it does require a little bit of setup in Cricut Design Space first. So let's head on over to Cricut Design Space, and that's where we'll get started. Here we are in Cricut Design Space. I've uploaded my puzzle design, and now I just need to choose an image to put on it. So I'm just going to click Upload, go to Upload an Image and hit Browse. Find the image that I want. I'm going to use this cute one of my daughter Cressida. And then when it says select an image type, we're going to select complex. And this may take a second, and then just hit continue. This may take a second to upload because it's, a regular picture and it's trying to import it in a high resolution. So just be patient. Okay, now that that's uploaded, we're going to insert this image. Once again, might take a little bit to get in there. All right, once you have both your puzzle design and your image in place, there's just a few things that you need to do. So first, I am going to go to my puzzle design and I'm going to ungroup it. Cricut Design Space always groups everything together when it uploads it, and so the first thing you usually need to do is ungroup it. Then I need to take my image, make sure it's behind my puzzle design, which it is, and scale it down to where I want it. Okay, move it down just a little bit. Okay, once that's in place, I am just going to have, with my image selected, I'm going to hold Shift and also select my rectangle shape. And then I'm going to come down here to the bottom and hit Slice. And that created 3 results. This one is garbage, we're going to delete it. This one's also garbage, going to delete it. And all we want is this one. This is just the cropped image that's the correct size for your puzzle. Now I need to send this to the back. And then with all of this selected, these are all my puzzle shapes, as well as my cropped image. I'm going to select all of those and hit Attach. Great, now those are all attached together and we're ready to send it to cut. This is all fine. We're just going to continue. And then you will need to print your design. I have already printed mine off on my printer, and so I'm going to select I've already printed. Alright, and this is where you have a couple different options. So I'm going to call these method 1 and method 2. So the first method is the one that I used when I made my initial puzzle. And to do that, all you need to do is take this image that you've printed and attach it to your chipboard with Mod Podge. So make sure you get it really, really nice and sticky, and then let it dry absolutely completely before you put it through your Cricut machine. And the other thing you'll need to know is when you do this, you're going to need either a strong grip cutting mat, or if you don't have one on hand like I didn't at the time, you can use a standard grip cutting mat as long as it's like brand new. Then you'll need to tape down all 4 sides of your chipboard. And then if you have a Cricut Maker, you'll need to use the knife blade to do your cutting. And if you don't, then you'll need to use a deep cut blade, and that should do the trick. And you'll have to browse your materials and find chipboard, and I have the heavy chipboard, which is 2mm, so that's the one I had to use. Okay, so that's method 1. It's really nice because it's less steps, it's a little bit easier, and once you've glued everything down and let it dry, the machine just does the rest for you. So the drawback to this method is that you have to make sure that your paper is glued down really, really well, or you risk the image tearing. because the Cricut has to make a lot of passes in order to cut through the chipboard, and eventually that starts to really wear down on your paper. Also, because the machine has to make so many passes, the rubber wheels start to leave marks in your printed image, which can be kind of a bummer. So the second option is the one I'm going to show you today, method 2. For this method, we're going to cut out the chipboard and the paper separately and then glue them together one piece at a time. So this is a little bit more time consuming, a little bit more tedious, but in the end you'll get a little bit more crisp results. So since I'm using cardstock, I'm just going to select medium cardstock, and then I'll send my image to cut. Then I'll have to go back and cut just the chipboard without the image on top later on. Okay, so if you are doing the second method like I'm talking about today, then you'll need to go back after you've already cut out your design in cardstock, get rid of that, go back to your puzzle, upload that again, and then you're just going to attach all of these together and hit make it. And then you'll need to do all the things I explained with the chipboard. Like I said before, you'll need to either use it on a strong grip mat with tape or a really brand new standard grip mat. Tape it all down, and then if you have a Cricut maker, use your knife blade to cut it out. Or if you don't have a Cricut maker, then you'll need to use a deep cut blade. Send it through and be patient because this takes a while to cut. Alright, so I know it looks a little wonky right now, but here is my puzzle of my cute little girl. So one thing I forgot to mention before is if you are doing the first method and after you've glued your image all the way down onto your chipboard, what you're going to need to do is you need to put it under something heavy while it dries so that it doesn't curl or warp while it's drying. That's something I did. I stacked a whole bunch of heavy books on top of it while it was drying and let it dry for hours before I even put it through my machine. And that will help you from having any issues with it warping. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention is that if you don't care about this being temporary, or this is just something quick you wanted to throw together just to keep the kids busy and give them something to do for the afternoon or whatever, you could just cut out this out of cardstock and be done. I mean, it wouldn't be as sturdy and it wouldn't last forever, but I know it's kind of fun and it's still a puzzle and it's something they can do. Anyway, but on to the next step if you are trying to make this a nice sturdy puzzle that can be reused over and over again. So I'm going to kind of mess everything up. Just trying to keep it together, but just can't seem to keep everything together. Okay, so I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually going to take this puzzle that I've already made and I'm going to be putting this design on the back of it. So I made sure to flip my puzzle design first before I cut these out so that the puzzle pieces would match correctly. Okay, so I'm just going to take it piece by piece. Grab the pieces that match up with it. I'm going to line them up. This is the thing that's going to be more tedious about doing it this way, is you're going to have to make sure that it's lined up perfectly each time in order to get this right. Then I'm just going to paint some Mod Podge on, press it down, do the same with the other side. If you do it this way, instead of just painting the whole piece and then trying to line it up, I find that it lines up just a little bit easier. And then to press it down, I'm just going to take another sheet of paper. I learned this from my photography teacher in high school. Whenever we'd mount photos, he'd always teach us to always have a clean sheet of paper behind and a clean sheet of paper on top. And that way, when the glue gets stuck like it just did, you're not going to ruin your image. So after I have my piece glued where I want it to be, I'm going to stick it underneath something heavy, just a nice heavy book I have back here, and I'm going to let it dry. And then I'm just going to keep doing that over and over with each one of my pieces of my puzzle. Well, here it is. I finished up my puzzle. I glued all the pieces on, gave them time to dry, made sure to put something heavy on top to keep them from warping, and here it is, my darling little Cressida. So there you go. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have lots of fun making your very own puzzles.